Basketball Trending News. Your daily source for basketball news.
After 19 seasons, 1,643 total games, 56,738 total minutes, 31,668 total points, 5 championships and 2 MVP awards, Tim Duncan has retired. We take you back through his 2 decades of basketball dominance, from the 1997 draft day to the 5th and final championship. The beginning. Date, June 25, 1997. Just 2 months after his 21st birthday, Duncan, the consensus NCAA Player of the Year during his senior season at Wake Forest, where he averaged 20.8 points, 14.7 rebounds and 3.3 blocks, took the first step of his legendary NBA journey when he was selected with the number 1 overall pick by the San Antonio Spurs. The Spurs, a franchise headlined by Hall of Fame big man David "The Admiral" Robinson, stumbled upon the first pick after a franchise-worst 2062 season. A season in which Robinson played just 6 games as a result of back and foot injuries. A season that set 2 decades of dominance in motion. The first award. Date, April 28, 1998. The same 20-win Spurs team that felt the ill effects of Robinson's injuries the year before quickly transformed into a 56-win championship contender after drafting Duncan and naming Greg Popovich head coach. Coincidence? The Spurs fell short in the Western Conference semi-finals at the hands of the Utah Jazz, but the franchise was clearly on the right track. Duncan was a key contributor in the turnaround, posting 21.1 point, 11.9 rebound, 2.7 assist, 2.5 block numbers while shooting 54.9% from the field and playing a team-high 39.1 minutes, numbers that earned him Rookie of the Year honors. He was a near-unanimous decision, raking in 113 of 116 first-place votes, and was also named to the All-NBA First Team, becoming the first rookie to do so since Larry Bird in 1980. But it was just the beginning. The first championship. Date, June 25, 1999. In just his second season, Duncan became an NBA champion. With regular season averages of 21.7 points, 11.4 rebounds, 2.4 assists and 2.5 blocks, Duncan, side by side with a healthy Robinson, led the Spurs to a league-best 37-13 record, shortened by lockout. After handily advancing past the Minnesota Timberwolves, Los Angeles Lakers and Portland Trail Blazers in the first 3 rounds of the postseason, the Spurs knocked off the New York Knicks, 4-1, for the first championship in franchise history. Duncan, who averaged 27.4 points, 14.0 rebounds, 2.4 assists and 2.2 blocks, was named Finals MVP, becoming the second youngest player, 23, in NBA history to do so, behind Magic Johnson. The injury. Date, April 11, 2000. Duncan, one of the healthier superstars in league history, suffered a torn lateral meniscus in his left knee late in his 3rd NBA season. The Spurs, who entered the postseason as the 4th seed in the West, only managed to win 1 game and were quickly sent home by the Phoenix Suns. A disappointing finish at the time, of course, but the decision to rest the 24-year-old and let his knee heal would turn out to be one of the most important calls of Popovich's Hall of Fame coaching career. The 53-point game. Date, December 26, 2001. Duncan, known as the Big Fundamental for his silky smooth offensive skill set, didn't make a living torching defenses with explosive dunks or alley-oop finishes, but that's not to say he didn't have his fair share of dominant offensive performances over the course of his career. The day after Christmas in the 2001-02 season was one of those performances. Duncan was as locked in as ever, knocking down 19 of his 28 shot attempts on the way to a career-high 53-point outing in 50 minutes on the floor. The Spurs lost the game in overtime, but not to the fault of Duncan, who was a perfect 15 for 15 from the free throw line and added 11 rebounds, 4 assists and 3 blocks. The first MVP. Date, May 9, 2002. After 5 seasons in the league, with 5 All-NBA First Team and 4 All-Defensive First Team selections, 1 championship and 1 Finals MVP, and just a season after finishing second in the regular season MVP race to Allen Iverson, Duncan added to his already impressive resume with his first MVP award. He posted career-high, at the time, averages of 25.5 points and 12.7 rebounds while leading the Spurs to a 58-24 finish for the second consecutive year. They eventually lost in the Western Conference semifinals to the Lakers, but Duncan's emergence as a franchise cornerstone was undeniable. The second MVP. Date, May 5, 2003. Another year, another MVP award for the big fundamental. With season-long averages of 23.3 points, 12.9 rebounds, 3.9 assists and 2.9 blocks, Duncan became just the 8th player in NBA history, and the first since Michael Jordan, 1991 and 92, to win back-to-back MVPs, as he led the Spurs to an NBA best 60-22 record in the regular season. The passing of the torch. Date, June 15, 2003. While there may not have been a definitive passing of the torch moment from Robinson to Duncan, when the Admiral played his final game, a finals-winning Game 6 against the New Jersey Nets, Duncan was officially handed the keys to one of the NBA's most dominant franchises. Duncan, who put up 21 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists and 8 blocks in Game 6, finished the series with team-high averages of 24.2 points, 17.0 rebounds, 5.3 assists and 5.3 blocks in one of the most dominant finals outings in NBA history. The almost game winner. Date, May 13, 2004. In a knockdown, drag-out Game 5 of the Western Conference semifinals against the Lakers, Duncan responded to a Kobe Bryant go-ahead basket with a fadeaway go-ahead of his own that splashed home with just 0.4 seconds remaining. The shot itself, in the face of Hall of Fame center Shaquille O'Neal, would have been one of the most monumental shots of Duncan's career, if it weren't for Derek Fisher, who proceeded to knock down one of the more recognized buzzer beaters in NBA postseason history on the next possession. The Lakers went on to win the series, putting an end to the defending champs' quest for back-to-back titles. The third championship. Date, June 23, 2005. After the heartbreaking elimination the year before, Duncan, alongside a young Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili, came back with a vengeance. With a 59-23 regular season record that earned them the second seed in the West, the Spurs rolled through the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, losing just 4 games. In the finals, they faced a much more daunting task, as they met the defending champion Detroit Pistons, led by Chauncey Billups, Rip Hamilton, Ben, and Rasheed Wallace, and Tayshaun Prince. In an 81-74 Game 7 victory, Duncan struggled from the field, 10 for 27, but scored 25 points and grabbed 11 rebounds on the way to his third Finals MVP, and his first title without Robinson. He became the 4th player in NBA history, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Shaquille O'Neal, to win 3 Finals MVPs. The sweep. Date, June 14, 2007. The Spurs' franchise best 63-win season the year before was cut short in the second round of the playoffs by Dirk Nowitzki's Dallas Mavericks. But, as they did in years past, San Antonio made a mockery of the postseason opposition on the way to the 2007 finals. Once they got there, it was more of the same. Experienced and hungry for yet another ring, San Antonio cruised to a 4-0 finals victory against a 22-year-old LeBron James-led Cleveland Cavaliers squad. Parker, 24.5 points, 3.3 assists, 5.0 rebounds, edged Duncan, who averaged 18.3 points, 11.5 rebounds, 3.8 assists and 2.3 blocks, for Finals MVP honors. The 2020. Date, December 2, 2013. At 37 years, 221 days old, Duncan, with his game-winning fadeaway jumper against the Atlanta Hawks, became the oldest player in NBA history to record a 20-point, 20-rebound game. It was the 22nd 20-20 game of his career. Despite Father Time's best efforts, Duncan continued to turn back the clock. The disappointing finish. Date, June 20, 2013. For the first time in franchise history, the Spurs lost in the NBA Finals. The Spurs, who could taste victory in Game 6, fell victim to a Ray Allen game-tying three-pointer, which led to a Heat win, kept Miami alive and set up a 95-88 series-clinching Game 7. Duncan posted team-high averages of 18.9 points and 12.1 rebounds over the course of the 7 games, but it ultimately wasn't enough. The last championship. Date, June 15, 2014. A year later, the Spurs got their revenge. Duncan, at 38 years old, averaged 15.4 points, 10.0 rebounds, 2.0 assists and shot 56.9% from the field as the Spurs handily took down Miami's Big Three in 5 games. Spurs 22-year-old defensive specialist Kawhi Leonard was named Finals MVP, but Duncan played a pivotal role on the way to his 5th, and final, ring, 15 years after winning his first. The 1000th win. Date, April 5, 2016. During the final stretch of his 19-year career, Duncan became the 3rd player in NBA history to reach the 1,000-win plateau, joining Hall of Fame big men Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Robert Parrish. But, the game was far from your classic Duncan performance, as he recorded just 3 points, 2 assists and 2 rebounds in 24 minutes of play, just weeks before his 40th birthday. The end. Date, May 12, 2016. In what would turn out to be the final game of his career, Duncan scored 19 points and grabbed 5 rebounds in a Western Conference semi-finals loss against the Oklahoma City Thunder. It was his best performance of the 2016 postseason. In the previous 9 games, he failed to score in double digits and, in Game 4 of the Western Conference semis, was held scoreless for the first time in his postseason career, 249 games. So famously deemed timeless Tim Duncan for his ability to fend off Father Time year after year, the 40-year-old looked like a 40-year-old. The announcement. Date, July 11, 2016. As a leader of one of the most dominant franchises in basketball history, with a career overflowing with accolades, Duncan ended it all by riding off in the sunset in a manner so reserved, so peaceful, with a short and sweet press release sent out by the Spurs. No fancy farewell tours or press conferences. For the humblest and most soft-spoken of NBA superstars, did you really expect anything else? An ending so fitting to a career so far-reaching.
Basketball Trending News, your source for the latest news in basketball. Be sure to subscribe to receive notice of our upcoming videos.